Welcome to the Cornbread and Kool-Aid podcast, the last of the 2025 year for fans of the Detroit Lions. My name is Demetrius. We acknowledge the super producer extraordinaire, Mr. Mike Ward, at the beginning of every podcast, not just because he's a Bears fan, and I don't know that he cared about today. I'm not even sure I cared about today. But yeah, week 18, final week of the regular season. Lions will not be in the playoffs, for those of you who don't know. So this is it for this season. Lions in Chicago at Soldier Field to take on the Bears. Final was 19-16 Lions. They played 3 quarters of really good football and did everything they could to give the game away. It's difficult sometimes, right? So this is the end of the 7th year of the podcast. We have a couple of rules, right? The first rule is we never apologize for a win. I think I got a new rule. We don't have to celebrate every win either. I will let you guys chime into the comments and tell me what you think, what you want. Andy is here. Good to see you. We can talk about the game. I want to move right to the offseason and start talking about all the shit we need to do. Stuff we need to do. Well, wait, it's late. I can do that. I mean, it's the last one of the season. Nobody cares. Nobody's here anyway. So yeah, there's a lot to do. So I'm going to probably kind of break format a little. I just didn't care about the game, right? So there is the obvious, which is if you'd have taken care of business against the Steelers. Oh, we're going to get there, Andy. Trust me. If you take care of business against the Steelers and the Vikings, I think this game matters. This game might have been for the North, or at minimum for still a playoff spot, right? I got to double check that. And the Packers played a bunch of reserves. So I think if that situation would have existed, the Packers probably would have played their starters, and it might not have mattered. I don't know. Demo is under contract for 1 more year, I'm pretty sure. So let's jump right in and get the game out of the way. There's not a lot there. Couple things. I had like 6 notes, and that was it for the game. The first one was, I don't understand the intentional grounding rule. So if you're listening to the podcast and you feel strongly that you understand the intentional grounding rule, please feel free to explain it to me. I consider myself a knowledgeable football guy, and apparently I don't know that rule at all. So if you want to, at any point in the comment, you can chat GPT or whatever the other thing is called, and I'll read it, right? Because on that bad snap play, it felt like a dictionary definition of intentional grounding. Doesn't matter. They won the game, whatever, right? But like I said, I didn't have a lot of feelings about the game. I'm not inclined to generate much feelings about a end of season game when, had you taken care of business against Pittsburgh and Minnesota, this game might have mattered. So I'm going to sip on orange cream soda during this podcast, and I might jump down a rabbit hole. Who knows? My friend Art, during the game, noticed something that I was thinking about as well. The red zone offense is a problem, and Andy has already jumped the gun. We're going to get there. I think the run defense still, they didn't give up a lot today, but I think overall that was a top 5 unit last year. And so this year, I think they fell to the teens. Some of that might have been a lean being out for half the year. Some of that might have been DJ Reader maybe slipping. I like what I saw from Tyleek. I don't know why we're running Wildcat. If you're listening and you know the value of running the Wildcat formation when you've got one of the best 7 quarterbacks in the league, feel free to explain that to me. Even Andy, who doesn't like Jared Goff, probably would say the Wildcat doesn't offer any value. Did it work? I guess it worked. I don't know. What I do know is that you have one of the best 7 or 8 quarterbacks in the league, or just run a running play. You don't have to put it in Goff's hands. But I think that when they win a game that doesn't matter, I don't know what to do with it. Like, it's like I said, when they steal an ugly win that they might not deserve, I don't apologize. A win's a win. I guess this is good. So then the challenge that came to me during the game was, do we care if they win? And what does it mean? Right. And I'll quickly do this thing. I think that there is, and I may have done this before, if you make it to the National Football League, you are one of the best of the best of the best, right? There's great high school players that don't play in college. There are great college players that never make it to the league, right? The guys that play in that league, even guys we don't know, guys coming off practice squad, they're elite players. And I think to be an elite player, to make it to the league, I don't know that you have the ability to practice all week, show up on Sunday and say, this game doesn't really matter. I'm going to give 80% effort. I don't think a guy at that level has that in his DNA. I just don't. So the idea of what were they supposed to do? Now, if you're Philly and you choose not to play a bunch of guys, if you're Green Bay and you choose not to, that's different. That's different. You are changing the dynamics of the talent gap between the two teams and giving the other team a better opportunity. I get that. Both of these teams played all their starters, all their best players. Chicago had something to play for. So if you're going to play your starters, if Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown are playing in the game, yeah, I want to win. I want my team to win every game. I don't know tanking, right? And some dude on the radio tomorrow afternoon is going to say that they screwed up their draft position. And that, again, is that sports talk radio okie doke. It is that stuff that I hate, right? Because the reality is they're picking, I'm going to say 17 was the last thing I heard. If it changed, my bad. If you know and it changed, let me know. But I think they're picking 17. And had they lost, maybe they're picking 13, 12, 13. If you believe that's a big deal, you are telling me that the NFL draft only has 12 good players. And I'm going to tell you, you're an idiot. Now, if you're talking about the Giants dropping from 2 to 7, maybe. If you're a team that needs a quarterback, I get what you're saying, right? That's not where we are. They will get a really good player at 17. They would have gotten a really good player at 13. Why? Because they have really good scouts and their GM is one of the best in the business. So the okie doke, idiotic thing you're going to hear on the radio tomorrow about that game meant nothing. They should have tanked that game for draft. Okay. Like I said, the New York Giants situation is different because there might be 2 or 3 elite guys, 4 elite guys better than everybody else. And you could have gotten one of those guys, a difference maker or once in a generation talent. You're not going to get a once in a generation talent probably at 17. But you probably weren't going to get one at 13. So, like I said, the Giant situation is slightly different in that had they lost, they would be picking 2, and they might have their quarterback in Jackson Dart. But what they could have done was leverage that pick and made a pretty good monster trade for a team that wants Mendoza or it's the kid from Oregon, Dante something. Sorry, slipped my mind. If you want one of those kids, they could have maybe made a trade. So the idea that they should have lost today for draft position is ridiculous. I don't buy it. I don't want to hear it. I'm a little dark. Let me turn my light on. Okay, I feel better. All right. So enough about the game. The game was silly. Let's get into the stuff that matters. Let's talk about what's next. I'm going to jump right to Andy's point because I'm that's where I am. I might do it a little bit different. So yeah. Andy brings up a great point. Dan Campbell doesn't know how to tank. He doesn't roll that way. He mentioned a guy I will never mention again on this podcast. You should understand, Andy. I don't say that name. But under another regime, we might have tanked to move up. Hey, cuz, I got some family joining. I always acknowledge people. If you're new to the podcast, if you have good points like Andy, or you're just my cousin and I love you, like my cousin, I'll acknowledge you, right? But as I was saying, if back in the old era of our old coach, tanking might have been an option. But again, I don't know how you do it. You have to be a different kind of coach and a different kind of player to actually tank. But yeah, thank you, sir. We don't talk about that guy anymore. Those were the dark days of the podcast. But Dan Campbell doesn't know how to do that. He's not wired that way, right? So tanking wasn't really an option. But as we go, I'm going to jump right into it, Andy. Here's my problem. And I'm going to be careful because I'm going to say something that could get me in trouble with other Lions fans, but I don't care. You probably know that about me by now. I'm not happy with my offensive coordinator, right? And I'll do it. I'll do the whole thing. If you have a job, and almost any company this matters, and there are two separate jobs, right, that you would in general have two people do. And then one person decides we're going to let that guy go, or that guy leaves, or whatever it is. I'm going to do both jobs. Just the laws of human behavior, the laws of thermodynamics, I'm making that up. You are not going to do both of those jobs as well as you would do one because you're only one human being. I will not just say an opinion and not support it. That's not how I get down. On this podcast, I give you stats, I give you data, I give you examples. Twice today, they had to call a timeout because the clock was running down. That is Dan Campbell, the OC, and Dan Campbell, the head coach, having two jobs because that's a separate job, right? It's a separate job. That happened twice. When you see them get a delay a game, that's the OC. When you see them not breaking the huddle until there's 10 seconds left, 12 seconds on the play clock, you could maybe say, wait, Goff, don't try and change the play. Don't do the kill. You don't got time for that shit, right? It is one man trying to do two jobs. I think Dan Campbell is one of the best coaches in the league. A+ coach, top 5 coach in the league, head coach. That is a specific job. He is really good at it. Inspiring players, building up there. He's great at that. I think Dan Campbell as an offensive coordinator is pretty good. Probably B+ offensive coordinator, right? What I do not believe. And Kyle Shanahan might be, Sean Payton might do it. Matt LaFleur might do it in Green Bay. Hell, Ben might be doing it in Chicago. Dan Campbell cannot do that. It doesn't make him a bad person. It doesn't make him, in fact, he's still a great head coach. I'm a big Dan Campbell guy. He can't do both jobs, guys. He can't. We were hurt this year. I could do a podcast on the drop-off in the offense when he took over play calling. We put up a big number on Dallas and somebody else, but it was different. That's not the only reason, but that's one of them. I don't know if John Morton's going to be gone. You might see him get reassigned. Maybe he's the run game coordinator. Maybe he's something else. You can do one of two things and I will be fine. Andy, you tell me if you disagree. You can hire a guy with the title assistant head coach. He's the guy that says, do we throw a challenge flag? He's the guy that says, punt or go for it. He's the guy that says field goal or go for it. He's the guy who does the head coaching shit. Clock management. When do we spike the ball versus run a play? This is an actual job, and it's separate from the dude who calls the plays with the Applebee's menu and his glasses way the hell down here, which is just silly. Okay, so two different jobs is my only thing. This is, and Andy just typed one word, and it's perfect. Infuriating. It drives me nuts. And I know my good friend Art texts me during the game. OC, it's not working. So I don't understand the dynamics of you hire John Morton. Is he not doing what you're telling him to do? If that's the case, you got to fire John Morton. I don't want him in the building. He doesn't know how to follow instructions. If you and John Morton see the game differently and he just doesn't have the same feel that you do, you take over play calling, hire somebody with the title assistant head coach, let them do the rest of that stuff. They need to hear from upstairs. Do I challenge this call or not? They're the ones who need to talk to the refs. They're the ones who decide onside kicks. There are game decisions that the head coach makes, and that's a full-time job. In addition to the prep during the week, there's head coach prep, and then there's OC prep. One dude for the last 6 weeks of the season has been doing both of those jobs. And I would say to you guys, as limited as it is, and I would normally not do it, this season fell apart in the last 6 weeks. Even after the Green Bay Thanksgiving loss, we were okay. We went to Dallas, got our footing back. Okay. Or Dallas came to Detroit, wherever the game was. But then after that, there's no excuse. There's no excuse. And particularly Pittsburgh and Minnesota, no excuse. You were, on paper, the better team. Now, I'll get into the other reasons, but I don't know what you do with John Morton. By all accounts, everybody likes John Morton. We might wake up tomorrow and John Morton's unemployed. I'm not going to be mad because I don't know the ins and outs. What I see as the problem is one man can't do both jobs. One man can't do both jobs. He has to decide, I want to be an offensive coordinator or I'm going to be a head coach. You can keep the title head coach, hire an assistant coach, somebody you trust, make Mark Brunell the OC, but you got to give the play calling duties to someone who is not making the head coach strategic game decisions. That can't be the same dude. It's got to be hard. And it sounds like I'm insulting him because I know there are other guys who do it. Like I said, LaFleur does it. Sean Payton does it. I think Ben does it. A lot of guys do it. Kyle Shanahan does it. I don't want Dan Campbell doing it. I don't want 80% of Dan Campbell in 2 jobs. I want 100% of Dan Campbell in 1 job. That might not be fair. Don't care. It's what I see. And at least 2 other really smart people whose opinions I respect have seen the same thing. I think that's as big as anything other than injuries. That's a really big problem. He's got to either give up play calling duties or let somebody else make those game time decisions. As far as Morton, I don't have any affinity for John Morton. He's probably a nice guy. There's probably something in the building he can do, right? You don't have to fire him. Shep, I'm fine with. In fact, I'm more than fine with Shep because Shep lost some really good players and the defense didn't lose the Minnesota game. 6 turnovers lost the Minnesota game. Today, there was a moment in the game, 2+220. We got the ball at their 25. All you have to do, right? You have one job there. Get them to burn their timeouts. Kick the field goal when you have to. That's it. That's all you got to do. And they ran 3 straight passing plays. First one, Goff has to dirt because Montgomery's not open. And the other 2 one ends up being an interception. That's bad play calling. I hate to even put that interception on Goff because Goff shouldn't have been throwing the ball. You should have ran the ball into the line of scrimmage 3 times. Welcome to my brother. Comes in hot. He wants to fire the strength and conditioning coach. I want to jump down that rabbit hole so bad. But I got to tell you, Kenny, I love you, bro. I don't even know who the hell the strength and conditioning coach is. I can't help you with that. He might be doing a good job. He might not. What I believe is that Shep is not the problem. I think that Shep worked with what he could. But when you lost 2 Pro Bowl safeties, when you lost a corner that I think is serviceable, Kenny thinks he's dirt, but honestly, Rock Ya-Sin played well. I might be fine with it, but those 2 safeties hurt. It's a different game without Brian Branch. Kirby Joseph is a ball hawk. How many interceptions do we have since Kirby Joseph got hurt? Right? Don't know. And Kirby might be done, like career done. Kirby's knee is jacked up. Branch is an ACL. We're not going to see him to Thanksgiving. It's bad, guys. This injury thing is actually kind of bad. So Shep, to me, did a great job with what he had, right? I think that whatever you do with Morton, I'm probably going to be fine with. But I need Dan Campbell to pick a job. Pick one of the 2 jobs and do that one well and let somebody else do the other. Is there nobody else in the world that can call plays? Because quiet as it's kept, bro, you weren't great the last 5 games. The offense wasn't great. Now, we will eventually have to talk about the interior of the offensive line and the fact that we couldn't run the ball, right? That is a problem, right? So the coordinators / head coach, because the OC is effectively Dan Campbell right now, and we've got to do something about the play calling. I will boil it way down. We gotta do something about who's calling plays and the play calling. Now, there will be a desire to say bad things about Brad Holmes, except that's not allowed on my podcast. You're going to have to go somewhere else. For the record, guys, Andy disagrees with me about Shep. I don't know what he expected Shep to do with what Shep had. There is no pass rusher opposite Aiden. Al-Qadim Muhammad played well. There's no real pressure there. The linebacking group as a whole, I thought was good. Barnes stayed healthy and played well. Jack Campbell's a Pro Bowler. Anzalone does what Anzalone always does. I don't know what you don't like about Shep when his entire defensive backfield was down. At one point, everybody was out. DJ Reed was out. TA was out. Both safeties were out. He's playing with Avonte Maddox and a guy named Mills that I don't know, and a guy named Harper that I didn't know, and a guy named Whiteside that I didn't know. So, oh, no. Sorry, we might have a misunderstanding. I want to keep Shep. I have no issue with Shep. You give Shep healthy safeties. You give Shep healthy corners. I am fine with Shep. I'm more than fine with Shep. If it sounded like I wanted Shep fired, disagree. No, I want to keep Shep. I like Shep a lot. Shep's going to get better with talent. Okay, Andy and I are good. There will be a desire to want to say something about Brad Holmes, except I'm not allowing that. So if you try, I'll block you forever. No, not that severely. But Kenny brought up a point, so I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on and talk a little bit about Brett. What do they need to do, right? So there's 3 elements that you can improve your team. 3 ways. There is free agency. There is trades, which are hard to do in the league, but they're doable. Impact players are hard to trade for a lot of reasons. And then there's obviously the draft. The order of that here is free agency, then draft, or actually maybe a second wave of free agency. But we got time for that. And the future podcast, after we stop now, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to come back and start right in with a free agency one. Here are the positions I think they need. This is who's gone, who's not, because I think Decker's going to retire. So I think Decker's out the door. So it gets really dicey now. But if you think about what happened, the key players, as much as I just blame Dan Campbell, he's not the only reason. We'll get to that. So here's the deal. You got to rework Goff's deal, which was a plan all along. You'll be able to free up some money. From a free agency standpoint, we have to stop taking gambles. When you didn't have talent, you could take shots with injured guys. You could draft Levi, hope he gets healthy and reaches his potential. You could do that with Broderick Martin. You could do that with Josh Pascal. We're done with that now. We got to be done with that now. We got to go get impact players. And if that means we trade later picks to move up and get a guy that's going to make an impact right now, then that's where I think we are. I made a case and argued, don't change what you've been doing because it's been working. I think we're at the evolution of this football team now where your core is signed. Sewell's under contract. St. Brown's under contract. I think, to Andy's question earlier, I think David Montgomery signed an extension and has another year now. You've extended Goff. You've extended JMO. You got to do Laporta and Branch coming up. And Jack Campbell coming up. Your core is signed. You still got another 2, maybe even 3-year window. You're going to have to restructure Goff's deal because you can't pay him $69 million next year. It's not feasible. But the good news is he's a top 7 quarterback, and extending his deal means adding years. So he's our quarterback for even longer, to the dismay of some, but to my own joy. So I think that one of the focuses, how much do I want to dig into free agency right now? Let's do it. This is my thought. If you can add 4 impact players, and I'm open to opinions, Kenny, Andy in particular, I would like to hear that. I forgot about Jameer. Yeah, we're going to have to pay Gibbs soon. So we're going to have to get Gibbs and Jack first. No. Gibbs and Jack can be 5th-year optioned. I think it's going to be Branch and Laporta first, then Gibbs and Jack, maybe before the season starts or maybe not until next year. But give me your thoughts on, if I say you can add 4 impact players, you can sign 2 impact free agents, and you can your first 2 draft choices. We expect Brad Holmes' record, first 2 draft choices should be guys who contribute. I'll tell you guys mine while you think about it. I think Decker's gone, but I don't go get a left tackle. I move Panay over, and I go get a right tackle. You don't have to pay him as much, probably. You could probably draft one. They're probably more readily available. The reality is, if there's a left tackle worth a damn, he ain't getting away. His team's not going to let him get away. You're not going to get him, right? So it's time to kick Panay over to left and acquire another right tackle. So last year, the interior of that line, right? I'm talking guards and center, were Frank Ragnow, a Pro Bowler, Graham Glasgow, solid veteran on the right side, who could also backup at center, and Kevin Zeitler, who was solid. If nothing more, he was solid. The gap between Ragnow and Graham Glasgow at center is a solid gap. Now you're playing Christian Mahogany at left guard. The gap between Zeitler and Mahogany is a solid gap. Zeitler was a pro. And now you've moved Graham over, so you've got a rookie in Ratledge, as good as he is, was not veteran Graham Glasgow, right? And you have hurt your flexibility, right? That overall gap in those three positions was massive. And I've said 100 times, and I'll say it again. The Detroit Lions are a running team. They're a running team. Everything they do comes off the run. This year, when they rush for 100 yards, they're 9-1. Do the math. The 7 times they didn't rush for 100 yards, 0-7. That's it. This ain't complicated, guys. I'm not curing cancer. They're a running team. Andy and I had a conversation, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago. And he made a statement that I probably laughed because I think it's very accurate, but I don't get why people think it. And he said something to the effect of, Goff is not effective unless he's got a very good offensive line. Something like that. And I've heard that before. And my answer was probably something like, of course. Tell me all these quarterbacks that are great when their offensive line sucks. And I'll wait. And I know the 2 or 3 names you can say. Okay, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. I get it. But guess what? He didn't have a good offensive line this year. Jared Goff did not. And you know what he did? 3rd in the league in quarterback rating. 3rd in the league in touchdown interception ratio. 4,500 yards, 34 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. His rating was like 106. So he directly contradicted exactly what Andy said about him. Now, Andy has since come back and says he likes Goff. He's just got one quality he wishes he had. And that's the standard deal. I won't even do it. I need you guys to accept the premise that we have a really good quarterback, because we do. All the measures say we do. He is 3rd in the league in quarterback rating. Of all he's only behind Matthew Stafford and the dude in New England, the young guy. Shit. Whatever. I'll remember it. Somebody will remember it. The young kid in New England who played really well this year. Those are the only 2 guys with better quarterback. And quarterback rating is the way the league measures how good the quarterback is, how the quarterback impacts winning. And Jared Goff is extremely consistent. In his time here, he plays 3 shitty games a year. And the other 14, he is good to great. Most of the time, very, very good. He was really good today. His interception was off a tip ball. Drake May. Yes, thank you, Kenny. Drake May and Matthew Stafford are the only 2 dudes who had a higher rating. That's it. And both of those guys are MVP candidates, by the way. So there's that. So there's work to do. I think I titled this podcast, The Lions Have Work to Do. And it's everybody. There's work to do. Number 1, Dan Campbell, are you going to be a play caller or are you going to be the head coach? I love you, but you can't do both, bro. You cannot do both. I'm sorry. Injuries are a big deal. I may or may not get to them. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and go to the questions because I already see 2 of them, and they're going to cover like, what do we do kind of stuff. First one says, do your blame pie game. Who do you blame for the record? Okay. So it's not a who to me. I won't do that because I'm not gonna. If I had to, it probably is Dan Campbell because he's a coach, right? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do it this way in order. Frank's retirement is number 1. I just explained that. Frank retiring, I almost swore. It's my podcast. I can swear. Really screwed up our interior offensive line, which impacted our running game, which impacts our passing game. It was such a domino effect. Having to slide Graham over, having to start the rookie. Mahogany wasn't ready. Sorry. Oh, God. So I'm not doing that, Andy. I have no idea what Goff's 40 time is, and I don't care. That was good, though. I had to mention it because it was good. Frank Ragnow's retirement is number 1. I did a podcast in the middle of last season. At the time, I think they were 12-1 or something ridiculous. And one of the questions was, who's the most important player to them being that good at the time? And I said, as much as I like to say Goff, as great as Gibbs is, St. Brown's, it's Frank Ragnow. Frank Ragnow's the most important player on this team. I said that a year and a half ago. We saw that come to fruition. So Frank's retirement was huge. Second, coaching. I am man enough to admit we missed Ben Johnson. But more importantly, I've done 20 minutes today already on why Campbell can't keep calling plays. We need a real OC. You got to go find an OC. Go find another Ben Johnson, whatever it is. You need somebody you trust to call plays because you can't do both jobs. I don't think it's an excuse to say injuries. I just don't. I think we miss Sam Laporta so much. The tight end in this offense is huge. And when Sam Laporta got hurt, that's messed up. Why did Frank not come out of retirement? He tried, he failed his physical. He had a hamstring injury, didn't pass his physical. He can still do it. I don't think he will. I think Decker's gone as well. So I think the offensive line woes just got even worse. So we're going to need to dedicate resources. I think they're going to sign an offensive lineman and draft an offensive lineman. I think they're going to do both. And you're ideally going to see Ratledge get better. He might be your new center, depending on how the other things work out. But Frank could still come out of retirement. Injuries are a big deal. We don't talk about Laporta's injury nearly enough. Sam Laporta was a difference maker on the offensive side of the ball. More importantly, the line and the shuffling they had to do decimated the running game. It just did. I gave you the stat. When they rushed for 100, they were 9-1. When they didn't, they were 0-7. The Lions are a running team. That's it. So injuries are real. The back end of the secondary, you got guys playing back there that I didn't know. And guys, I know everybody. I didn't know. There was a kid playing today named Mills. Ugh. I know who he is, but I didn't know they had called him up. And that's the thing when you have the Whitesides and the Mills. Now, when they signed Devontae Maddox, I said, that's a good signing. He's going to see the field. When they signed Rock Ya-Sin, I literally told a friend of mine, he might take Terrion Arnold's job because I think Rock Ya-Sin has always just been a really solid, dependable corner. And I don't know that TA is getting his job back. I don't know that Ennis Rakestraw will ever be healthy enough to play, right? Those back end of the secondary injuries limited what Shep could do, and Shep still did a hell of a job, right? Injuries are real. I think the schedule is a legit thing. I think we had one of the 4 toughest schedules in the league, but first-place schedule. We are not going to have a first-place schedule next year. We're just not. We're going to have some cupcakes because I don't think we're a 4th-place team. I think we're a team that finished 9-8. I can get you a Mills jersey, Andy. Andy wants a Mills jersey in case you guys want to help out with that. Anybody who can find a Mills jersey, let us know what size, Andy. So I think that for them, they're a 9-8 team that has had the capacity. Had they just won Pittsburgh and Minnesota, right? They're 11-6 and they win the division. Those 2 games. I could go back and talk about the Minnesota first loss was legit. They outplayed them. Christmas was a debacle. Minnesota wasn't that good. We gave them the game. We gave them that game. Pittsburgh coaching, right? Andy wants a Schmedium Mills jersey. Anybody who can find a small/medium Mills jersey, let me know so we can get that to Andy. I think that the schedule played a role. I think that they're going to probably outperform their talent. Staying healthy next year is the big thing. I don't know what it is. And I think that's what Kenny meant about fire the strength and conditioning coach. And that might not be off. Kenny might not be wrong. Maybe there's something in their workouts or their practice schedule. I don't know. What I know is that on paper, and at some point, this team was sitting in a position where they had their fate in their hands. And even with a slip on Thanksgiving, if they would have won Pittsburgh and Minnesota, they'd still be the North champs. That's how I think. I don't know what Green Bay would have done, but whatever. And then there is a talent deficiency on the interior of the offensive line. I think they need help on the interior of the defensive line. They dropped from top 5 against the run to middle of the pack. Again, some of that was Aleem missed half the season. Tyleek was a rookie. I think Aleem, a year after that bad injury, and Tyleek in his second year, I think they figure out the run game stuff, right? And yeah, maybe Dan Campbell will be Kenny thinks it's about milk. They just need more milk. Andy thinks that Dan Campbell should also be the strength and conditioning coach because he don't have enough jobs already. Yep, let's do that. So I think I would say in order, Frank's retirement, biggest blow. The fact that we didn't get the offensive coordinator thing fixed and Campbell had to start calling plays. I didn't like it. I still don't. We got to change it. I think injuries are a reason, not an excuse. The schedule was really hard. We talked about it. They went to Philly. They went to Kansas City. They had to go to Green Bay, and they played some tough games on the road and at home. And then I think there's some talent issues. But I believe Brad Holmes is one of the best 2 or 3 guys in the league at what he does, and Brad Holmes will take care of the talent piece. I think they're going to add talented players. He's going to fix the cap, and they're going to add talented players. So, all right, next question. Oh, right in line. Instant free agent predictions. I don't have names right now. I'm going to do a whole podcast probably in mid-February with names. Here are guys that are available. This is how they fit into the Lions scheme. This is how they fit into the Lions financial. This is how they fit with the Lions culturally. I'm going to do a whole podcast on that. What I would say first is you start with, you got to restructure golf. You got to restructure Jared's contract and create some cap space. Excuse me. I think that was always the plan. I think it's easy to do. His number's high. You move up some bonus or accelerate some bonuses. I think Andy just typed Max Crosby in the thing. Give me a second. I think offensive line, you got to add at least 2 players. I think you go sign the best free agent offensive lineman available, whatever position he plays. I don't care. If he's a center, he can start at center. If he's a guard, I'll move Ratledge over. If he's a tackle, he can play right and Panay can move to left. Best tackle available in free agency, a best offensive lineman available in free agency, best offensive lineman available in the draft. Defensive back, same thing. I don't care if he's a safety or a corner. I want you to reach out. DJ Reed's under contract. I get it. TA might come back. I think you sign a really good defensive back, probably a safety, because Kirby might be done for good. And I don't know that we're going to see Brian Branch before Thanksgiving. You got to get a safety. And then I'm fine with you even signing another corner. I haven't seen the medicals on Ennis Rakestraw. If Rakestraw is fine and he's going to come back, you re-up with Rock Yassin, and we think that TA is going to be all right, maybe. But if it's me, I sign one and I draft one. And edge rusher is always a need. Sorry. There's not an off season where I'm not at least looking at edge rushers. So my instant free agency strategy, which is what the question was, create as much space as you can, restructure Jared. You might even be able to restructure St. Brown. I don't know if you probably can, but create some money and then go get me 2 offensive linemen, go get me a defensive lineman, probably interior, and go get me 2 defensive backs. However you do that, free agency, draft, trade, I don't care. I think you need to sign 2 impact free agents and then 2 or 3 more depth guys. I think your first 2 picks have to be home runs, instant contributors, and be in there immediately. Oh, there he is. Where you been? So I think you gotta have a really strategic, and you're gonna add other players at other positions. I don't know that we're good at backup quarterback. No idea. I don't have a problem with Kyle Allen. And the fact is Jared Goff plays every game anyway, so it doesn't matter until it does. There's that. So that would be that. Let me get one more, and then I think I'm going to circle back to the Max Crosby thing. How do they get back? I think I just said that. All right, I'll do it anyway. You got to rebuild your offensive line because you are a running team. You are a running team. You have a top 7 quarterback. You have a top 3 wide receiver, but you are a running team. You have 2 really good backs. You got to be able to run the football. Everything else works off the run. So commit to rebuilding the offensive line. Secondary depth, hate to beat a dead horse. You need not just starters, you need safeties. Maybe you start Rock Yassin. I'm probably okay with that. Especially if TA is not 100%. I can't remember TA's injury. If somebody knows what's wrong with him, my mind is saying a shoulder, but I feel like he would have been back if it was a shoulder. Is it a knee? I don't remember what Terrion Arnold's injury is. So if somebody remembers, let me know. I don't know what his medicals are. I don't know what Ennis Rakestraw's medicals are. I like Rock Yassin. I want him back for sure. Vontae Maddox did his job. He can be a depth safety. Amik is the guy, by the way. Amik is a baller. If Amik's If Meek's contract's up, we got to re-sign Meek. And I feel like they had only signed him for 2. So I would re-sign Meek because you can kick him outside when guys aren't healthy. So that's what I would do. I would say rebuild the offensive line, depth in the secondary. I need, of course, Kenny chimes in with TA as a bum. Everybody knew that was coming. And I do need a new offensive coordinator. And nobody is giving me their thoughts. Are we all on the same page? Dan Campbell can't keep trying to do both of these jobs. If it's me, I trust y'all will tell me. He has got to get a true play caller or get an assistant head coach. Because when they have to call timeout to avoid delay of game, that's the head coach's job. When they make a decision to go for it on 4th down or punt, that's head coach. Do you review a play? That's head coach. Kick that field goal or down in distance, that's head coach job. And he's, excuse my language, he's fucking up that job because he's too busy calling plays. So I need, and Kenny and Andy believe we need a new strength and conditioning coach. That's not me, guys. I like to include everybody in the podcast. I don't know about that. I mean, football's a violent game. Guys get hurt. Great. I don't know that the Lions have any more injuries than anybody else. They didn't have as many this year as last year, but the same position group keeps going down. Defensive, and maybe defensive backs just go down. I don't think there's anything in Shepard's scheme because the previous defense was the guy that went to the Jets, Aaron Glenn. The guys got hurt in his scheme. I think it's a violent game. Those guys run a lot and they hit a lot and injuries happen. It's Brad Holmes' job to get depth. So sign another Avonte Maddox, sign another Rock Ya-Sin and give us depth. And then you hope Kirby comes back. You hope Brian Branch gets healthy. But when they don't, you have serviceable guys on the back end. I don't think it was, I think for what he had, Shep did a good job. But I think that offense should average 35 points a game against anybody. And in the 2 games where it mattered, 2 key games in Pittsburgh and Minnesota, I think the offense lost those games. And if you win those 2 games, we're in the playoffs. We might be the division champs again. So the work continues. I'm disappointed about those 2 games. None of the other losses really bothered me. Thanksgiving kind of sucked, but Green Bay played well. Kansas City played well that night. Philly played well that night. The Pittsburgh and Minnesota games really pissed me off because everything was on the line and you crapped the bed. I think so. Andy's trolling me. So that's why I see he at some point he just can't help himself. We are solid at quarterback. We might need a backup, but the guy that wears 16 hasn't missed a game since he got here. I don't think he's missed a game since he got here. And he's got the 3rd best record of any quarterback since he arrived in Detroit. And that's what you got in Jared Goff, and you asked for it, so now you're getting it. What you have is a dude who plays 17 games a year, and he plays 3 bad games. Last year, he played a horrible game in Houston. We somehow won. He played a horrible game in the playoffs against Washington, right? So you got a dude who will play 3 bad games a year, but he will give you 12 to 14 spectacular games. He will win you games, right? Oh, okay. Terrence brings up a good point. How do we feel about the height of defensive backs? I don't know, right? I think DJ Reed is right around 6 feet, might even be shorter. He might have a point. Meek ain't 6 feet. He ain't 6 feet in high heels. And that's no disrespect because I really like Meek. Sorry if that's it. TA might be 6 feet. So you might have a point. Height on receivers. I think the weird thing is in the same draft where we drafted Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, the Eagles drafted Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. That bites. That freaking hurts. Whew, that hurts. Because those 2 dudes have played a lot of games and played very well. That one hurts. The height thing might be there. I think I just need to stay healthy. I just don't agree with my brother. It's my brother. I think that Terrion Arnold was booty his first 4 games. First 4 games of his rookie year, he was grabby and he was committing penalties, right? And then I think he got better and he was solid. He wasn't a Pro Bowler. He was solid. And he was a rookie. And then this year, he had up and down moments. I don't think Terry Arnold's that bad. And by the way, we still got him under contract for 2 years plus an option. So he's got to come back and play, even if Kenny doesn't want. I don't think our linebackers are slow, Kenny. I think Derek Barnes is really fast. I think Jack Campbell is fast, big, and he makes tackles. I don't know what the speed. Anzalone is Anzalone. He's smart. He makes play. I don't think we have a linebacker problem. If y'all agree with Kenny thinks our linebackers are too slow. I don't think we're losing games because our linebackers are slow. I don't feel that way. I think Derek Barnes gets there. Sometimes he overruns plays. He overran 2 plays today. But I'd rather have a guy who's fast enough to get there and maybe overruns it. And that was just a good move by DJ Moore. Somebody else hit him with a spin move. I don't think we have a slow linebacker problem. I'm okay with, if y'all disagree and think Kenny's right, I'm cool with that. I love Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell is a tackling machine. And the most important thing to me that a linebacker has to do is make tackles. Get there and make tackles. Anzalone's still solid. And I think he's got another year on his contract. And Derek Barnes is healthy again, and he looked really good this year. I really like what I saw from Derek Barnes. So and Malcolm is back. So you got some depth there. If one of those guys goes down, Rodrigo can play any one of the 3 spots. I'm comfortable with our linebackers. I'm comfortable. Apparently we got short, injury-prone dudes in the back end. I think we need an edge rusher. Al-Qadim Muhammad's good. He can be my 3rd edge. I think we need an edge. I think that we need another interior guy to help us with the run. So I'm boiling it down to, from a talent standpoint, I would focus on O-line and secondary. I think Dan Campbell has to make a decision if he wants to be an offense coordinator or a head coach, because I don't think he can do both jobs. And I think you do that with your 4th place schedule and we bounce back next year. We bounce back. So yeah, I think I got this solved. We're good. No, I'm kidding. Apparently, we probably need a quarterback because Jared Goff's a bum. Terrion Arnold's a bum. Anzalone is slow as hell. Yeah, those are not our problems, bro. They're just not. It's the interior of the offensive line and it's the secondary. And it's largely injury and youth. So add a veteran offensive lineman, add a veteran safety, draft a O lineman, draft a D lineman, draft a corner. And I think we bounce back. Figure out the OC. I still think that's number 1. Figure out who's calling plays. Stop trying to do both jobs. And then the rest takes care of itself. That's where I am with it. So today was what it was. It was a game. They won it, whatever. I guess it's better to be 9-8 than 8-9. You're still in 4th place. Literally, you're still in last place in the division. You still pissed away a chance to win the division by losing those 2 games. And at least, maybe Green Bay would have played more people and beat Minnesota. I don't know. I know that those were winnable games and you really blew it there. I think Tyreek Williams is going to be the guy you like, Kenny. I think he's going to make a big jump from year 1 to year 2 and be that run stuffing defender. I saw a couple of plays today I liked out of him. So, oh God. Okay, now Andy just told me it's time to go with that last one. Jason Kelce can come out of retirement. Okay. Yeah, I know he's trolling me. It's fine. If Kelce comes out, he's got to play for the Eagles. They own his rights. I have nothing against Jason Kelce, by the way, but that's not doable. And if you guys, when we get to the free agency podcast, so this is what's next for the podcast. We'll take a little time off, got some work travel, be over in Taiwan. I gotta go away a little bit. So I'm gonna take a little break and come back in probably 3 weeks and start looking at what the off season should break down to. Where do we fill in these holes? And how do they go about doing it? Then we'll do one right before free agency, which will be probably later February. So there'll be a podcast every couple weeks. High level strategy in about 3 weeks. Probably 3 weeks after that, real free agency breakdown. These are the guys I think we should target. And then we'll do one right after free agency. And then there'll be a couple weeks and we'll do a pre-draft. Then there'll be a couple weeks and we'll do another one right before the draft, couple weeks post-draft, couple weeks after that, mini camp, couple weeks after that, they'll be about ready. It's going to happen quick. It goes by fast. But I'm going to go now to like a every 2 or 3 week kind of cadence, unless something happens. If they fire somebody or they sign somebody big, we'll jump on in an emergency state and get something done. So that's all I got tonight. It's a disappointing season. Hopefully we learn from it. This is just part of our journey. The Pistons had to beat the Celtics, and then they lost to the Lakers, and then they had to figure out the Lakers before they could get to the top of the mountain. Hopefully it's just part of the journey, right? And you know where I stand. Still our team. Y'all here talking to me at like 10 o'clock, so y'all still love them too. So appreciate the support. Andy, my brothers, Kenny, Terrence, Art, everybody knows who they are. Appreciate it. We knocked off another season. We'll be back because I like this shit too much. And I still think we're not that far away. So it's much more fun than and by the way, Kenny and Terrence, y'all should be mad at Andy. He tried to drop our old coach's name. I give him a pass, because he didn't realize we don't say that dude's name, that pencil-eared bastard. We don't say his name. Sorry. See, you done got me mad, man. Okay. We don't talk about that dude on this podcast. Keep his little pencil, and I think he's in Columbus, Ohio these days. Whatever. We don't talk about him. Everybody have a good night. Appreciate the support. God bless. See y'all when we start the next year. All right.